Okay. Hey guys. Okay, wait. Get myself together. Hey guys. Welcome back to my channel. My name is Ocean Baiha, but if that's too much of a tongue twister, then you can call me Ocean B. I think at this point, I know that this is a series. I've waited a long time before recording the next videos coming up since the last video that you guys will see before this one. So I know that this is a series. I think this is going to be episode 6, I believe. So welcome. And if you are new to the channel, please go check out the other episodes. You will have a better understanding of what I'm talking about if you've seen the other episodes, kind of how I go about topic and how I talk about them. And so I do still title the videos. So this video is going to be titled Wearing a Mask. I wasn't actually going to continue with this episode following the last episode. Yeah, so I don't know. I'm a little bit nervous. I don't know. The other videos went pretty well, and when I was filming, I wasn't thinking about it too much, but I feel like I have a lot to say about this video, so I don't want to talk too much in the intro, but I hope you enjoy, and I'll just get into this topic. I feel like it's not like the best continuation of the last video, but a lot of the videos I'm going to be doing are based off my journey and the things that I've been through, just kind of what I've learned and what I've kind of gained and acquired. And I want to tackle this. This is something that right now I feel has been on my mind, and so it doesn't need to be in a specific order. That's kind of what I'm trying to push myself to do, to stop forcing myself to do things in a very specific order, because if you followed me in the last episodes, I've been very clear. I'm a little bit of a perfectionist. I like to do things in a specific order, in a specific way, and it needs to make sense. But in this case, I've decided that I'm going to try to just go with the flow. Whatever is calling my name at that moment, that's what I'm going to be talking about. That's what I'm going to be discussing. And so this is what's been calling my name. Finally, let me get into the video. Wearing a mask. Let me define what a mask is. Physically speaking, we know that wearing a mask is some sort of material that's supposed to cover yourself, that's supposed to hide parts of yourself. It's supposed to be some imagination of something else. So there's something behind what is being covered. Okay, whatever. That's like obvious. Okay, let me get into what I'm trying to say. So when you're wearing a mask, whatever mask you're wearing is generally a character, right? Of whatever sort or theme that you might be going to. Let's say you're going to a masked party, and so whatever mask you choose to wear plays a certain character. Now, the next part is, let's say like a masquerade. Oftentimes if you watch those you read those novels or you watch these movies about masquerades, and then you're like, oh, the girl falls in love with some guy that she didn't see, or the guy falls in love with the girl he didn't see. I don't know if you know what I'm talking about, in a sense of like there's someone hidden behind that mask. You saw a character in front of you and you don't know who it is, and sometimes people use that to their advantage. Like if you watch Gossip Girl, one of the masquerade balls, they're using the advantage of the fact that nobody can see who they are behind that mask, so they could do whatever they want, and people can be suspicious, they could be questioning, they could be wondering who did it, but they won't actually know who's the culprit because everyone is hiding themselves behind a character. Another way to wear the mask is to camouflage. Let's say you came into the party uninvited, or you wanted to make sure that you didn't stand out at the party. So you wear a mask that allows you to look like everybody else. You wear a mask that allows you to blend in with the crowd. And then the goal of a mask is to keep the identity undisclosed. Figuratively, that was me talking about it literally. When you talk about the physical mask, it gives you an idea of what I mean figuratively. When I'm talking about it figuratively, I just mean on a daily basis, we tend to put up a face, put on a mask for the world, for the people that we're meeting, that we're interacting with every day. And sometimes we wear a different mask for different occasions. And when I say mask, I genuinely mean like you switch your personality, you switch how you approach the situation, the person you're speaking to, the person you're addressing. It can change based off whatever is being presented in front of you. Okay, so now, why would a person do that? Why do we think that it's necessary to switch our faces, how people are seeing us or what they're taking in from this specific situation? And so let's say how I am at work isn't necessarily how I am with my friends. The language, my body language, my tone of voice, the expressions, how you carry yourself in the world can alternate and change depending on the situation. And that's what I mean by mask. But is that a mask if you're just simply like adjusting yourself accordingly per situation or event. I wouldn't necessarily call that being a mask, because that is actually a skill. It's something that you should know how to do. Being able to be more carefree and more relaxed and comfortable. It doesn't mean you shouldn't be comfortable in your place of work, but it just means like there is a time and place for everything. You don't necessarily play basketball in the house. You don't necessarily do ballet on the grass, right? There is a time and place for everything. You don't dance at 12 a.m. when you have an exam at 7 a.m. It's just to say that it's okay to adjust yourself per situation, because it is necessary. It's required. It's adaptability. Everybody needs to learn to adapt to their situation, to their environment, to whatever it is that is being presented in front of them. And that's an actual skill. Some people actually have a really hard time with that. I'd say particularly, sometimes I have that issue where, because I have a certain way that I like to present myself, I know how I want to be perceived. And that's something that I've mentioned in previous videos, is sometimes because I want you to get that person first, I have a hard time adjusting myself accordingly per situation. And so it's not easy for people to always see maybe like the carefree side that I have, or the, like I can have fun, I can be goofy, I can get ridiculous, I can get down, I can dial it down in terms of theory and analyzing and being so like strict and practical and tedious, intricate in the things that I do. Sometimes I can just like hit back, relax, laugh, get crazy, get goofy, do the wildest things. Everybody got that side of them. And I think it's important to like showcase that. I think you should have that personality, but is it always necessary to do that in your place of work? No, not necessarily. Should you break down and twerk in an office if nobody's partying just because?
No.
So when I say mask, I wouldn't necessarily say adjusting yourself accordingly to the situation in front of you. That's not necessarily what I mean. When I say mask, is that you're falsely presenting yourself, as in you are putting on a face that you think people are going to like, that people are going to enjoy or respect a little bit more, but it isn't a reflection of who you are. So even if I adjust myself accordingly to the situation, so if Ocean needs to be more serious, needs to be more practical, then Ocean needs to be more serious and practical within her own personality, within her own self, with the way she carries herself. And then if Ocean needs to be more down to earth and relaxed and goofy and stuff, it still needs to be Ocean's goofy, not Ocean's sister's goofy or Ocean's friend's goofy. It needs to be within my own version. Growing up, for example, I would intentionally try to find words that were different or better than the words that I was currently using, because I like to enhance my vocabulary. I was trying to actively practice in enhancing my vocabulary in my everyday speaking, like how I would speak. There's a certain way that I wanted to speak when I was articulating myself, and so whenever before speaking, I would think what would be a better way to say this word. But let's say when I am thinking about how I want to speak, and I'm thinking I need to speak and sound exactly like my coworkers so that they might like me a little bit better, but it's not me at all. So that means they don't actually know who Ocean is. They don't actually know how Ocean carries herself, what she actually feels, how she actually wishes to present herself to the public. One, that could be flawed in so many ways, just because how long can you keep up a facade? How long can you pretend to be something that you're not? How long can you project an aura, an energy that isn't actually your own? Because eventually you get exhausted. And then I would say, like, oftentimes people who wear masks get worn out quickly, because and social interactions could be exhausting because you constantly have to be putting up a face. So now, let's say that you get used to putting on a mask. Let's say that hanging out with these group of people, I know just the right words to say, I know just the right language to use, I know exactly what makes them laugh, I know exactly what makes them feel cool. But in the end, you are lying to yourself. You're creating animosity between you and them. And at the end of the day, when you are faking, the people around you can generally feel it. We can pretend all we want, try our best to fit in, but when you're not really projecting the person that you are, generally the people can feel that. And that's inauthenticity. There's always going to be people who like have a problem with everything, and that's something else. But like when you are projecting an energy that is not yourself, eventually you're going to get tired. Eventually you're going to get bitter, because you want people to connect with you. You want people to appreciate you for who you are. You want people to feel and like your company for the person that you are. So eventually when you get exhausted, accepted, there's going to be a part of you that might be a little bit more bitter, a part of you that people might not recognize, and then people are going to start distancing themselves from you when it was probably not even necessary in the first place. They could have accepted you for who you are, and if they didn't, they're not the people for you. You should not be having friendships, relationships with these people if they're not accepting you for who you are. There is a person or a group of people for any kinds of individual. If I know that I'm more of a political talker, then why should I hang out with people who care more about hockey as like thing to talk about consistently on a daily basis? It's probably not going to be the best for me. It's the relationships around you are supposed to lift you up, build you up, make you enjoy life a little bit more. They're supposed to be an addition. They're supposed to be a supplement to what you're already enduring every day, going through every day, and trying to accomplish every day. Sometimes when you're constantly molding yourself for the crowd, eventually what you're projecting becomes who you are. But because it's not really what you're built to be, you can't be the best version of whatever it is that you're masking. When I started this video, I was talking about how wearing a mask can be used to play a character. Wearing a mask can be used to hide something. There's something that you're not willing or ready to reveal to the world. And then wearing a mask could be a way to camouflage, to blend in, because you don't want to stand out. You don't want people to notice you. You don't want people to point at you. You don't want people to pick you out of the crowd. That can happen. And in the end, a mask is still a mask. It all has the same meaning, but the intentions are different. If I must start with let's start with character. If you're wearing a mask as a character, so when I say character, I mean you're playing a persona that you think is necessary for the crowd that you're in. You want to be the funny guy in the group. So if you're wearing that mask so you can be the funny guy in the group, do the people get to see you when you're sad? Do the people get to see you when you're vulnerable? Do the people get to see you at your worst and at your best? Do they only see that character? Because when you're playing a character, it's hard to see you as the full package. People tend to see you for that thing that you're being attached to. I don't think I would want to be attached simply for being the funny person or being the talkative person. There's a lot more to me. There's a lot more layers to me. And if you're creating real meaningful relationships, even in your workplace, even at school, even in your community, whatever, you need to express or share different layers of yourself. It doesn't mean be completely vulnerable and say everything about anything that's happening with you. Not everyone deserves and should get that much access to you, but it's just to say that it's important that whichever version that you're presenting is a version of you. That if you're being the funny guy, you're being the funny guy you. So if I'm let's say being a character that's funny, like we said, you tend to shift depending on the situation. I'm deciding to be the funny guy, but my funny version is, maybe some people tend to be funny in terms of throwing jabs, but they're jabs that are kind of comical. Some people like to make logic jokes, which personally those are the jokes that I laugh at. Some people are funny because they're sassy. If Ocean decides to be a sassy comedian, but that doesn't fit her personality, if I'm not genuinely sassy person, that doesn't fit with my aura, my way of presenting my energy, then what that does is that I'm reflecting something that's not true, and these people have expectations of me that I cannot deliver when I'm no longer able to wear that mask. And so you want to make sure that if ever people were supposed to remove the mask and reveal the full person behind, that the mask is a reflection of what was always behind it. I hope I'm making sense. Am I making sense? I don't know. Now, if you're hiding, if the mask that you're using is used to patch up parts of yourself that you think people will not appreciate. When I was talking about character, and I hope I'm making enough of a difference, when you're playing a character that doesn't necessarily reflect one of your characters, that is now a mask. Playing a character is not necessarily the issue. Playing a character that's not your own is the issue. There you go. I said it. I finally got the words to say what I was trying to say. Now, when you're wearing a mask to hide yourself because you don't want people to see who you are, when you're wearing it to hide things that you think people might not like or people might not appreciate, there's a difference now when you're trying to tune yourself out, adjust parts of you that might not help you in terms of moving and placing yourself in the world, having a part in the world. Let's say best way for me to make an argument is because I'm a talkative person, very clearly because I'm talking to the camera by myself. But let's say I'm a type of person who is very talkative. I like to express my ideas, to explore ideas and things like that. And that's true. That's something that I am. But then you're met with people who don't like to do that at all, don't really enjoy having to do those kinds of activities, which is fair. Everyone has the right to the things that they like. In that kind of situation, especially if they're just like one of your friend group, if it's not like your everyday friend group, it's not the people who need to see every aspect of you, the ones that you rely on, the ones that you fall back on, that's a different kind of group. But if it's just like a group that you hang out with, let's say a study group or dance group or soccer group or whatever, then it's okay to hold it back, tune it back. You can be more quiet, be more observant, fall back in the things that you guys relate on a little bit better. That's okay. But when, let's say, particularly in relationships, if you feel you have to wear a mask, hide this part of you because you don't think it's going to be approved. There's a difference between it's not appropriate for the situation and I don't want people to judge me for it. I don't want people to dislike me for who I am. So you're wearing a mask so that people don't see you for who you are. And that means you're taming yourself. That means you're not allowing yourself to carry yourself, project, reflect the energy that you have, the personality that you are into the world authentically. It's very important to reflect yourself authentically if you want to stay on your purpose, which I mentioned in the last video. To be able to stay in your purpose, you need to be able to be authentic to yourself. And if you're not authentic to yourself, that can be a very scary place to be in, I personally think, because you have no direction, you have no idea what your intentions are, why you move the way you do. Don't wear a mask. And if you're wearing a mask to camouflage, if you're wearing a mask so that you can blend in with the crowd, you don't want to stand out, you don't want to be different. For example, let's say, and that's kind of like the culture that we're in, trends, styles, like, oh, this is last season, no, that's new season, that's not the vibes, like your style doesn't match ours, everybody's wearing this kind of hair, everyone's wearing these kind of nails. Like if you're wearing these nails, it means that, oh, like remember when, oh yes, I'm going to mention this, there was a time where wearing white toenails meant something about you, like you're that girl on the street doing something. But what if I'm just wearing white nails because I like having my toenails white? When did that become a thing? Why did that become a thing? And who said? Just because a group of people kind of like tainted that for everyone else, that doesn't necessarily make it fact just because they did that. Like some people might just want to do it just because. But now I like to do that. I like to wear white nails, but because I don't want people to know that I like to, and I don't want them to think that I'm something that I'm not, I camouflage and I do what everyone else is doing. For example, right now, let's say, I don't know what's on trend. I don't keep up with the trends, but let's say wearing red toenails was on trend and that was like cool girls, the lit girls, the fun girls, the ones who know what's up then I would then wear those red toenails just to be able to blend with the crowd. But that's like unauthentic. I should be doing what I want to do so long as it's not affecting everyone else, so long as it's not harming anyone. What does it do if I wear white toenails? Why do I need to camouflage with the crowd? An example that I will give for myself is when I was younger, I was always the kid who liked to follow the rules. I know. And I was always said that you're annoying for that, like you're so weird for that, like you're such an op, or whatever the terminology was at the time and right now. I stood out because I was a rule follower. I was the kid who liked school. I was a kid who wanted to do her best in school and things like that. Would kind of like stand out with my peers sometimes, or the way I would talk, or the things I would be interested in, even sometimes, and like with my family and stuff. Like I'm a little bit like I don't know. Am I the different one? Sometimes I think I'm the different one because I don't keep up with the trends. I don't know what's going on. I'm not on social media. I don't post on social media. I don't stay on social media. I don't know what happens, which is funny because like I've been wanting to do YouTube for so long. But one of the reasons why I've held back on YouTube is because I don't like having to post on Instagram, post on Twitter. I don't know how to keep up with that stuff. And I know I'm going to have to try to do that to be able to maintain this whole platform. But at the end of the day, I'm just trying to say I never knew what was going on with the real world. I just knew like what I thought was right and what I should be doing and what I thought was the best way to do things. And so I kind of felt sometimes like the oddball because I just like to follow the rules. I just like to make sure that everyone's being nice. I was the first one to call you out if you're doing something wrong. But should I have changed myself to fit in with everyone else? No, that's just not me. If I wanted to just blend in with the crowd, I would have been doing what everyone else is doing. Does that interest me? No. Is that something that I like to do? No. Does that reflect the person that I am? No. So I'm not doing it, which then could lead me into what I wanted to say is, do I wear a mask? I wouldn't so much say that I wear a mask. Actually, no, I do wear a mask because I just cited to you 3 kinds of masks that I've kind of been able to pull out. And there's a mask that presents a character. There's a mask that hides you. And then there's a mask that's just there to blend in with the crowd. If I had to pick which one. Because of my ways of thinking, my values and things like that, I can never really like blend in with the crowd. When it comes to character, I don't know, I always felt like I had to tame my character. I do have a pretty outgoing personality, but I feel like I'm a character in itself. Like, I don't really play a character, but lately I've been feeling like, because I've been hiding a part of me for so long, which is what I was going to get into, the mask I tend to wear is the mask to hide myself. But I'll get into why that might be the case. But I have a character when I'm a little bit more relaxed and less analytical, less strategic, less practical in my thinking and speech and activities, thinking beyond what is presented in front of me, and I'm just trying to enjoy the moment. I do have a character, but I feel like I don't allow myself to be that version of me very often, that people seem to think that when I'm being that version of me, it's a character. But I would just say that I think I was hiding that part of myself because I wanted to be, like I said in previous videos, if you watched, I was saying that I've always been kind of like a perfectionist, and I want you to perceive me the way I want to be perceived. That means if I met myself for the first time, I want you to look at me how I look at me. And so I would work so hard to be the version of me that I want showcased to the world. Unfortunately, that can come off as being inauthentic because you can't be perfect. You can't be great all the time. Like, can't do everything right. And not to say that your loungy, goofy, ridiculous, fun, outgoing, extravagant side is not a good thing, or it's bad, or it's not proper, or whatever. It's just to say that, okay, I'm having so many technical difficulties with a lot of different things. So I think I'm just going to take that as a sign that I need to wrap this up, because it is getting a long video and I wanted to keep the videos at a certain range. But just to kind of wrap up what I was saying, it's not to say that having those easygoing personality, those vibes, because everyone has those goofy sides. Everyone has like a side of them that is usually kept for the people closest to them. There's a side of me that I tend to keep a little bit more closed off because I don't like the reaction that I can get from people sometimes. Like, sometimes it's unexpected because I feel like sometimes they're a little bit opposite of each other. They're a little bit different, and it seems like I'm mimicking somebody else. But the reality is that I know that that is my true character, because people are so used to me being the character that I am already in itself, the one that I actively work on a daily basis. Because like I said, I tend to be a perfectionist, so I always try to put my best foot forward. I always try to present the best version of myself. That's not necessarily always for other people, but I feel the thrill of knowing that I'm always pushing myself and that I'm being the best me that I can be. And that doesn't mean that when I'm not actively pushing myself in those ways, that doesn't mean that that's bad. It's just not the version of me that I want put out to the world, because I like that person. Like, I like the person that I'm projecting to the world, and so I prefer projecting that. But I think that when I don't project that, people seem to think that it's a character. So I would definitely want to say that sometimes it's different and sometimes it goes against like what you usually do, but it doesn't necessarily mean that that's a character. It's only a character if you're trying to be what gives you the best response, or you're being something because you think that that's what the crowd wants, but it's not actually you. If you can be that thing while still being you, then you're not putting a mask of a character, you're just being that character. If you get it, you get it, because I think it makes sense. Now, like I said, I never really was the type of person to wear a mask. I generally think I like my personality, but I've just come to a point where I started realizing that some people might misinterpret my personality, want to run with it their own way, because everybody has their way of thinking, everyone has their perceptions, everyone has their ideology, they have their expectations, so the things you've gone through and the people you've encountered, like maybe somebody with a similar style, tone of voice, way of carrying themselves gave them a bad impression, and then that is now reflected on me, and then you have these biases, prejudices of what I should be or who I am or who you think that I'm pretending to be. My audio wasn't working for like these 4 minutes because I'm just having so many technical issues today, but it's okay because I'm trying a bunch of new things, and Journey of Life, that's the channel. It's okay. We're gonna get a rhythm. We're gonna get something out of this, and eventually it's gonna get better, and I'm just gonna keep faith. And I don't know, the lighting has changed. It's taken me forever to film this video. So anyways, in terms of the mask of like hiding myself, because I don't want people to take me the wrong way or assume something about me that's not true. Because as I said in the first episode, sometimes it seems I'm very black and white. I can come off as judgmental or something like that. Everyone can think what they want to think. It's gonna happen. I can't control everyone's minds, but I know know that my stances and the way I look at things and the way I approach certain situations, the way I go about conversations can sometimes kind of create armors in certain people. Sometimes I find that I can't showcase that side of me. I can't showcase the part of me that's really invested in everything and wanting to learn everything deeper and never wants to just look at things superficially. That's a big basis of who I am. And sometimes I have to admit that I have been doing that most recently. I explained in I think like episode 3 a little bit about how I needed to find myself and who I wanted to be and who I wanted to project to the world. In that process, I started feeling like what I was projecting or what I thought I was projecting wasn't matching the responses that I was receiving. And so it made me second guess everything, made me question everything, and it made me kind of take a step back. That's where I think it was important to staying true to yourself and knowing who you are and what you know you're showing and showcasing to the world. Had I been so confident in what I know that I am showing and I know who I am and what I'm projecting and reflecting, then I wouldn't be so thrown back when I feel like people's responses don't match what I'm giving out. You can't help how people perceive you. You can't help what people say. It doesn't help to now put on a mask so that I can filter myself for everyone else. But like when you end up putting a mask, the mask is not necessarily for yourself. The mask is for everyone else. You're basically pleasing the people around you. You want to make sure that everyone is at peace except for yourself. So everyone else gets to be comfortable except for you. And if you watched episode 4, you know that I still think it's important that you don't just do things that just disturb everyone around you. Like that's not necessarily what I'm trying to say or what I'm trying to put out. I'm just trying to say that when you are putting a mask, you don't allow people to actually resonate with you, connect with you, and create the bond that relationships are made for. The whole point of relationships is to connect with people in general. Whether it's your friend, your family, your companion, it doesn't matter. If I sit in front of this camera and then I'm just going to project the specific persona, specific personality so that everyone can see me in that specific way, but what happens then is that they will now identify me in that personality. And if I defer from that, stray away from that, then they're going to be like, what's going on with you? Like you've been lying, or this is not who you are. Why are you faking it? And the authenticity is lost. And it kind of goes back to what I was saying about sometimes people think I'm playing a character because they're so used to seeing that version of me. And to be honest, I project this version of me a lot. That's through training. I intentionally did that for myself because I wanted to be that version of me. But what then happens is that people don't recognize other parts of me. And then they think that I've been wearing a mask or I'm pretending, or they think that I'm someone that I'm not just because it doesn't match what they're used to seeing me portray. And then that causes friction in your relationships. That causes people to second guess you, to question you, because there are people who are dishonest. There are people who are not being authentic. But let me tell you something. Generally speaking, for the most part, I do believe that I present myself authentically. I do believe that everyone has multiple layers, and it just depends on the situation, the circumstance, the people that they're with that will influence which parts of you come out. The only issue is when you're wearing something to shield you. So then you're not actually allowing yourself or allowing people to connect with you for who you are, but connect with you for the person that you want them to think you are. And that creates a gap between relationships, and then can cause conflict, can cause misunderstandings, mistrust, and things like that. That's not the purpose of relationships. You don't want to invite more struggles than you want. If people don't like the person that you project or the person that you're reflecting, and it's authentically you, and it doesn't harm, doesn't hurt, and doesn't necessarily negatively continuously affects other people's lives, then there's no reason for you to not be that version of you. Just go find people who can match that energy. Everyone has their clique, everyone has their groups, everyone has people who they are meant to connect with a little bit better, people who they can share better chemistry with, who just have similar ways, similar styles, similar vibrations. And for the people who are more like analytical, practical in the way of thinking, and don't like the idea of like wavelengths and energies and things like that, but to be honest, if you're being honest, there are people that you can have conversations with, and it doesn't matter if you guys talk about the same stuff. If your body languages, energy, comedy, something that you guys can relate on a personal level, it's likely that the connection cannot go further than superficially, than whatever reason that you guys have that interaction in the first place. I don't even know where this video went. I don't even know how it's been doing. Honestly, I feel like a little bit all over the place because I haven't sat in front of the camera in a while, and like I got nervous for whatever reason. But all I'm going to say is that what I wanted to recap, just to to end this video and close out the video because I know it's a little bit long. At the end of the day, I'd like you to actually look back and think, am I wearing a mask? Am I putting out the person that I think is gonna either one, make people like me better? Am I playing a character? And if I am playing a character, is that character one of the characters in my book? There's a side of me that I'm projecting on the camera, and there's probably a side of me that you don't see. You can't know everything about everyone. It depends on their circumstance, and sometimes it doesn't come out. But if I'm gonna have to have a certain energy on the camera, it needs to be my energy, not the energy that another person has or that I think that is gonna get a specific demographic of people to listen to me. I want the people listening to me to be the people who resonate with me and the person that I am. That's why I'm intentionally trying to say things that can get you to connect with me, that can get you to get to know me and see me on a more personal level. Of course, you can't air everything on the internet, but it's just to say the people who get it, get it. Gene, if you don't get it, you don't get it. And that's okay, because everybody has their cup of tea. And who am I to say that it's less interesting than mine? One, don't wear a mask. Don't do it. Don't wear a mask that plays a character. Don't wear a mask that's hiding the person that you are. Remember, making yourself adaptable to your situation is not the same thing as hiding yourself. And finally, camouflage. Don't be afraid to be different. Don't be afraid to stand out. It's okay that there's something about you that's different than everybody else. It's okay. I might be a little weird, that I might be a little goofy, that I like to talk a little bit too much, because I got my skills for what I need, and it might not be beneficial in this situation, but it's going to be beneficial somewhere else. And even if it's not beneficial, there's something to learn or gain out of whatever your difference may be. And actually, to finish up, is that if everyone's pretending to be something that they're not, if everybody's projecting the image that they think people want, how can you make real connections with people if you have to wonder if everything that they're doing is fake? I tend to live my life by my values, so that means I don't like feeling or being a hypocrite. I like to do things that I believe in, and so I believe that you should not be faking anything. I believe that you should be yourself all the time. Because I don't like faking who I am, that's why my mask hides me, in the sense you don't get to see most parts of me because I just didn't want a reaction. But in that way, I'm not really pretending to be someone that I'm not. You just don't really get full access to me. And that's a little bit different than, I think, completely changing yourself up to please other people. Then again, wearing a mask is wearing a mask. I shouldn't be wearing a mask in general. That's something that I'm trying to remove completely. I think I just need to accept that I am who I am, and it will please some people and it will not please other people, and that's okay. That's the world that we're in. That's the life that we live, and we're meant to be different. We're meant to complement each other. We're meant to exchange our differences and live in difference. That's why we were made differently, and that's why life is complex. I just wanted to tackle the topic of wearing a mask because it's something that really dawned on me, that people are trying to make themselves seem something that they're not, and it makes me uneasy because it makes me feel like I need to hold back, because that makes me so much more vulnerable to you, to the person who is hiding themselves, thinking like, oh, is that really how she is? Like, ew, like, why are you acting like that? Like, ew, like, they'll smile at you here today, ha 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 ha, and then they'll turn around and be like, did you see that girl? I don't like her. And I don't like that. It's hurtful, and it's not necessary. It's not necessary. I think you're better off just telling me I don't like you. If you don't like me, then don't like me. At least we know. At least I know. At least everybody knows that we don't like each other. Nobody's faking nothing. At least when I show up in this room, I know that she don't like me. Let me not step in her space. Let me not bother her, and let me not say anything to her that's gonna make her look at me sideways, so that everybody can freely be themselves. Why should I now think like, I know this girl is hiding something, like something about her is not right, and I don't get to be authentically me? I think, one, I'm doing a disservice to myself by even letting their energies influence mine. But another thing is, you're doing a disservice to other people by not allowing them to be able to connect with you authentically and see you for who you are. And in the end, people feel energies. The people I like to watch online, you can tell they're really just being themselves, even if themselves might rub some people the wrong way. Sometimes it rubs me the wrong way, but I appreciate the authenticity. The fact that you're just like, well, whatever, haters are gonna be haters, people don't like everything, you're being vulnerable, you're saying your piece, you're saying your mind, and as long as you're being respectful, as long as you're not hurting, harming, or belittling anybody, being yourself should never be a crime. And that's something I learned, and that's something I learned deeply, is that I'm gonna be me regardless. I don't need to play a character character. I don't need to hide myself, and I don't need to blend in with the crowd. If I'm different than you, then I'm different than you. If I don't like the same things you guys like, that's okay. That's what makes us different. What do we bond on, or what don't we bond on? If we don't bond, then we just weren't meant to have a relationship, because there's different kinds of people, and that's okay. I think I rambled on enough. This video is way too long, but I think I like my energy. I think I'm feeling a little bit better than when I started this video and then when I started this channel, and I really hope you guys are liking it so far. And this is just the earliest parts of the journey, and to all the people who are going to join along the way, who are going to get to figure things out with me, I can't wait for what comes next. And I appreciate you for staying all the way to the end of this video and listening to me yap, even though I think this video is going to be all over the place. But I appreciate you guys so much. I'll see you in my next video. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Turn on your post notification, and I'll see you next time. Thank you.